Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fifth round. The fifth round is going to be a fairly pivotal point in time. It's a bit of a milestone for us. After 5 rounds, we've been talking about assessing how we were doing at that point and moving on. So, in recognition of the special nature of the fifth round, we are doing something a little different today, and I'm going to introduce Canada's Minister of International Trade, the Honourable Peter Van Loan. And Minister Van Loan, I need to say, has been a tireless promoter of the seated negotiations from the very beginning once he became Minister of International Trade. He's gone on a number of visits to member states in the European Union. He plans on going to many more member states in the Union. He's done tireless numbers of speeches, countless speeches around Canada, promoting the benefits that a deal would bring to Canadians. And he's certainly been supportive to all of us in the negotiating team from the beginning and continues to be. I think that's probably not only because this is a government priority, which it truly is, but I think it's also because he feels very strongly about it himself and believes personally that this will be a big deal for Canada and something that will bring us a lot of benefits. So with that, Minister, I think I'd like to ask you to say a few words, if you would.
Thank you very much, and thank you to our 2 lead negotiators here, Mr. Petroni and Mr. Verheul, and thank you to all of you. Bonjour.
Good morning. It is a pleasure for me to join you here today to help kick off this 5th round of negotiations.
Here with you to help kick off the 5th round of negotiations. As Mr. Verheul said, this has been an issue and a subject which I have been talking about all around our country. In fact, as you folks are working hard here doing negotiations, I will be later in this week also in the Toronto area making addresses reporting on your work and advancing our efforts towards a comprehensive economic trade agreement to communities like the Italian community and to the German business community in the Toronto area, again, drawing attention to the importance of this agreement. I appreciate the opportunity to meet here directly with you today on negotiations, including together with many of the European ambassadors who are here. I did observe that we're off to a better start this time than the last time in April that we had negotiations here in Ottawa. That's when the European Free Trade Area was trying to do its best to keep the edge. We already have a free trade agreement with them, so Iceland came up with that volcano as a way of keeping the Europeans from getting over here. However, we showed our commitment. All of you showed your commitment to the importance of this free trade negotiation by finding ways around that, using video conferencing, extending the negotiations, and using other approaches. And for that, you are all to be congratulated. We appreciate it. Since I became Trade Minister almost a year ago, I've gained an appreciation of the important work that negotiators do on behalf of their citizens, particularly in the case of Canada, as I should say. Your job is an enormously complex one, and I want to begin today by expressing my appreciation for those efforts. Like it is for you, the link between free trade and jobs is certainly very clear in my mind and in the mind of everyone in our government. Free trade is by no means an abstraction. It creates tangible, real-life benefits for people. Les Canadiens comprennent.
Canadians understand this.
Petite population.
And with our small population and our huge geography, we've always relied on reaching beyond our borders for global opportunities.
In a huge geography, we've always relied on reaching beyond our borders for global opportunities. For example, the North American Free Trade Agreement has been an enormous success for Canada, unlocking new opportunities and new sources of prosperity, new jobs for people in Canada, the United States, and Mexico. And in the case of Canada, our trade with the United States has essentially doubled since that agreement was entered into. Our trade with Mexico has gone up almost 5 times. The results have been delivered in terms of prosperity and jobs for Canadians. The creation of the European Union has sparked similar benefits for the European countries. It gave your economies an opportunity to transform close historical ties into a powerful competitive edge, a magnet for global business, investment, and innovation that would drive economic expansion across the region. I feel a personal affinity to the importance of that. I make no secret of my Estonian roots, a proud leader in the European Union, as I like to point out. When I was there earlier this year, I was speaking of the tremendous advantages that Canada had, our strong fiscal position, and of course I was greeted with the pronouncement that they have a 3.5% debt and a 1% deficit, and I thought that's real leadership from a small country. But that speaks to those ties that I feel are the same ties that so many Canadians feel to the countries of the European Union. Our people-to-people ties are tremendous, and that is one of the reasons why this trade agreement means so much to Canadians. En cette période de concurrence,
in these days of fierce global competition from economies like China and India, having a competitive cooperative platform has never been so important. It is also an essential ingredient in moving our economies further along the path to lasting recovery.
Canadians are so excited about these particular negotiations. The potential benefits for both Canada and the European Union are great. And the one study that was done as the basis for these negotiations actually indicated that an agreement would boost our bilateral trade by some 20%. When you consider the importance of our trade already and its high level, that is a tremendous indicator of the success that lies ahead if the work of you as negotiators proves to deliver results. Our businesses and investors have long called for closer ties to Europe, and this agreement would deliver. But the benefits run both ways. As the ambassadors here today can tell you, Canada has a lot to offer as a business partner. We're an open and attractive free enterprise environment identified by the Economist Intelligence Unit as the best place to do business over the next 5 years. We have, as I said, the strongest fiscal position of any of the major developed economies, the G7 countries, with the lowest debt and the lowest deficit. We have, across the board, low business taxes, soon to be the lowest in the G7. And we have, of course, the fastest economic growth rate of any of those developed economies, something that will continue into the future, according to the International Monetary Fund. We have a skilled workforce, the most skilled workforce of any organization of economic cooperation development country, with the highest proportion of post-secondary graduates. And we have what's necessary in Canada to keep and attract those skilled workers in a time when knowledge workers can go anywhere in the world. We have a high quality of life, with safe streets and communities, a high standard of living, a wonderful environment, a universal health care system, and a sound education system for their families. You couple that with our vibrant environment for innovation, a strong level of support for research and development that is driven by the private sector, and of course a strong commitment to the rule of law and good governance. And we share in common with the European Union many of the same values that make it possible for us to advance to a very ambitious trade agreement of the nature we're talking about today. Le Canada est également bien doté sur le plan de la...
Canada also enjoys the gift of geography as a natural crossroads between Europe, Asia, and the North American heartland.
An ambitious outcome would offer to our European partners. But getting from here to there requires continued dedication from both sides. As you surely know, trade talks follow a certain trajectory, tackling the more obvious barriers first, but before moving on to the more difficult, sensitive questions. This week's session marks 1 year since the first round of negotiations took place, also here in Ottawa. And so far, both sides have shown extraordinary creativity and flexibility in moving them forward. In fact, the response of most people is surprise at the significant and positive progress of these negotiations. But as we move ahead, the spirit of cooperation is more important than ever. One of the things that's special about this negotiation for Canada that we've never had before is the presence of the provinces and territories at the negotiating table. They are the key to achieving a broad and deep, high-quality agreement. And there was an editorial today in this morning's Montreal Gazette, I think, that spoke well to that. It says that provinces matter because what's envisioned here is a second-generation trade pact covering goods and services, but also smoothing away non-tariff barriers in regulation, standards, and procedures. This won't be your father's trade deal, and that's good because trade has changed. And that is indeed the case. That's why the provinces are so critical here. That's why we need them to be ambitious, to be able to deliver a trade agreement of the kind that we are looking for, broader and deeper than any ever before, the kind that Canadians are looking for to deliver the prosperity they need as we seek to emerge from this economic downturn. That's what our citizens are looking for, our businesses are looking for, our workers are looking for, and that's why the work you will do this week is so critically important. As this round begins, we're coming face to face with some of the tougher questions. As we enter this crucial phase, I thought it was important to be here personally to underscore Canada's commitment to these negotiations. This is the last formal round of negotiations before European Trade Commissioner Karel de Gucht, I hope I said that well, I've been working hard on that one, and I take stock of progress on and plan for the next steps to wrap up this negotiation. I look forward to learning about the outcomes of this round and discussing these outcomes with Commissioner de Gucht. Canada and the European Union already share a long-standing economic relationship, one that has great potential for further growth, further opportunity, further prosperity. That's why we're committed to an outcome that matches our ambition. As the Montreal Gazette said today, such a deal deserves our support. Nothing should be allowed to forestall the promise inherent in more open trade. Alors, travaillons.
Let us work together to reach this goal and unlock new opportunities for people on both sides of the Atlantic in the years to come.
Together to reach it and unlock the potential new opportunities for people on both sides of the Atlantic for the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.